All right, let's talk about something we all use every single day: money. But forget about the coins in your pocket or the numbers on your phone for a second. The real story of money isn't about paper or metal. It's about a massive, world-changing idea. And that's really the heart of it, right? This is our story. And to really get a handle on where we're at today, with crypto and tapping our phones to pay for stuff, we've got to rewind way, way back to a time before any of this was even imaginable. So, picture this: a world without any money. No cash, no credit cards, no banks, nothing. So, how did you get anything? Simple. You traded. You had something, I had something, and we'd swap. We call this bartering. Seems easy enough, doesn't it? Like, hey, I'll trade you this basket of apples for those shoes. Done deal. But, and this is a huge but, this super simple system had a gigantic flaw. A problem so big, it pretty much made life a constant headache. And here it is. Economists call it the double coincidence of wants. Sounds complicated, but it's not. All it means is that for a trade to happen, I have to want what you've got, and you have to want what I've got at the exact same time. Think about it. How often does that actually line up perfectly? Almost never. Okay, so let's play this out. I've spent all day picking apples, and my shoes are falling apart. I desperately need new ones. I find the shoemaker, but guess what? He doesn't want my apples. He needs a chicken for his family. And just like that, the deal is dead. No trade. I'm left with a pile of apples and sore feet. You can see how this would make everything grind to a halt. Something had to change. So what was the solution? It was actually pretty genius. People realized, hey, instead of trying to find the one person who wants my apples, what if we all agreed to trade for something that everybody wants? And boom, just like that, the first kind of money was born: commodity money. And the stuff people used as money? It's wild. I mean, totally different all over the world. If you lived by the sea, maybe you used pretty cowrie shells. In the freezing north, you bet it was animal furs. We're talking salt, massive stones, even colorful feathers. The thing itself didn't matter as much as the fact that everyone in the community just agreed it was valuable. And get this, here's a little bit of trivia for you. Ever wonder where the word salary comes from? It comes from salt. The Latin word was salarium. Roman soldiers were literally paid their wages in salt because it was that valuable for keeping food from spoiling. So yeah, your salary has its roots in a bag of salt. How cool is that? But, this system still had some major kinks. I mean, shells are fragile, they break. Furs get eaten by moths. And can you imagine trying to carry around a huge sock of salt? Especially if it starts raining? Not exactly convenient. The world needed something better, something durable, easy to carry, and that everyone would accept. And the answer, it turns out, was buried right under their feet. We're talking about metal, specifically precious metals like gold and silver. I mean, think about it. They're perfect. They're rare, they don't rust, they're shiny and beautiful, and you can melt them down into any shape you want. This was a total game changer. You can really see the massive jump forward here. For thousands of years, it was all about bartering and then stuff like shells. But then, around 600 BC, in a place called Lydia, that's modern-day Turkey, someone had a revolutionary idea. They started stamping bits of metal. These were the world's first coins. And this single invention would go on to build some of the biggest empires in history. But why was the stamp so important? Well, before coins, if someone handed you a lump of gold, you had no idea how much it weighed or if it was even pure. You'd need scales, you'd need to be an expert. The stamp changed everything. It was basically the king's guarantee, his promise, saying, yep, this is 1 gram of pure gold, trust me. It made trade unbelievably fast and easy. And with that trust, you could build an empire. Seriously. Suddenly, huge empires like Rome could pay their soldiers anywhere, collect taxes easily, and fuel massive trade networks. A Roman coin was worth the same in Britain as it was in Egypt. It became this universal language of value. Okay, so coins are great. But what happens when you get really rich? Now you've got a new problem. Imagine being a merchant, trying to carry thousands of heavy, jangling gold coins. Not only is it backbreaking work, but you're basically a walking target for every thief in a 100-mile radius. We needed something lighter. And the solution, once again, was brilliant. This time, it came from merchants in ancient China. They got sick of lugging around all that metal, so they started leaving their coins with someone they trusted for safekeeping. In return, they got a little paper receipt, an IOU. And pretty soon people realized, hey, why don't we just trade the paper receipts instead? They're way lighter. Can you imagine what a mind-bending idea this was? When Marco Polo traveled to China in the 1200s and saw this, he was completely blown away. He wrote back home in shock, saying the emperor could literally make money out of tree bark. To a European, value was in the physical gold. The idea that a flimsy piece of paper could hold that same value was just insane. And this is where we see the next giant leap in the story of money. For a long time, paper money was based on the gold standard. That meant every dollar bill was basically a claim check for a tiny amount of real gold sitting in a vault. But that's not how it works anymore. Today, we live in the age of fiat money. So, what on earth is that? Okay, so fiat money. This is what you and I use every day. It is not backed by gold or silver or anything physical at all. Its value comes from one thing and one thing only: our collective trust and faith in the government that prints it. That's it. It's a huge shared agreement, and as long as we all believe in it, it works. The moment that trust disappears, well, that paper in your wallet becomes just paper. All right, let's fast forward to right now. Because in just the last 50 years or so, the idea of money has changed more radically than it did in the 1,000 years before that. It's gone from something you can hold to something invisible, something that moves at the speed of light. I mean, think about the whirlwind of changes. First, it was credit cards, which felt like magic. Then came the internet, and suddenly we had online banking. Now our phones are our wallets. We just tap and go. And the newest chapter? Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. This is a whole new ballgame. Money that isn't controlled by any government or bank, but by a global network. It's a brand new frontier. Seriously, stop and think about it for a second. When you get your paycheck, a bag of cash doesn't show up at your door, right? A number just changes on a computer screen somewhere. When you buy your morning coffee, that number just gets a little smaller. Most of the money in the world today doesn't physically exist. It's just data, ones and zeros flying around the planet. So, after this incredible journey, from trading apples to trading algorithms, what's the big takeaway? It's this: money was never really about the shells or the gold or the paper. It's a human story. It's the tool we invented to be able to trust each other, to collaborate, and to build the complex world we live in today. And that brings us to one last huge question. What's next? If this is how much money has changed, what will people be using 100 years from now? Will our digital dollars and credit cards look as old-fashioned to them as giant stones look to us? The story of money is our story, and it's far from over.